Welcome back to the Get Off the Treadmill podcast for small business owners and entrepreneurs, where we show you how to build a successful business and to have a life too. We're going to dive into another topic that helps us make more money in less time and to get off the treadmill so we can experience a life of significance. And now, your host and the author of the #1 best-selling business book, Making Money is Killing Your Business, Chuck Blakeman.
Hi guys, welcome to our latest 3 to 5 podcast, and our title today is Daily Routines That Lead to Success. I'm with two amazing business and life groundbreakers, Chuck Blakeman from Denver and John Heenan from Belfast, Northern Ireland. Guys, what daily routines can we build in daily that actually can lead us personally and corporately to a life of significance? John?
My dad always said to me when I was younger, son, show me the company you keep and the books you read, and I'll tell you where you'll be in 5 years. And I think if you look at that as a principle, the company you keep and the books you read, and I think that there's not, besides, your kids and everything else, but your business, if you look at yourself and the company you're keeping and the books you're reading or the stuff you're listening to or stuff you're watching, where you're putting your attention, and if you build daily routines and daily habits based on those two principles, and the caveat, I suppose, to that is that work harder on yourself than you do in your job, which is a little bit counterintuitive because, and we've talked about this before, we get so busy with the urgent stuff, we never get around to doing what the important stuff is. And I genuinely believe the most important stuff is the company you keep. And we can keep different company, through watching. One of my favorites is Jim Rohn, dead and buried. Zig Ziglar, dead and buried. But some of the principles those guys wrote about and spoke about are as live and real today as they were then. So to look at, and again, for me, I probably spend a minimum couple of hours a day reading. I do, habitually now at this stage of the game. The company I keep, I'm conscious of it. I'm not going there.
There's two things I'm picking up. There obviously you've got external and internal input. You've got the external, which is obviously the company you keep, and the internal obviously is the books you read, and that's such a powerful duo in life. Chuck, if you want to expand or add
for decades I couldn't read. I would read one book a year, even though I'm an author. I couldn't read books. ADHD, dyslexia, and a few other things, and maybe just the lack of, just wore me out to read. And I got some medically assisted therapy, and an unintended side effect of that was that I'm able to read again. So I read all the time, and I think I agree with you. The company you keep and the books you read have a huge tell in what you're doing, where you're going, and how you're going to do in life. And, so that becomes important. It's not the point, I think, of that principle is what you invest your time and energy into every day is what's important to you. And so if you're investing your time and energy in things that are not helpful, you're going to go that direction, vice versa.
I think in the olden days, they would have said, show me your diary and show me your checkbook, and I'll tell you what's important in your life, because where you spend your time, as in what's in your diary, and where you spend your money, as in what checks where you spent your money. Because people say one thing, my family's very important to me. Okay, well, let's see your diary and let's see your checkbook. How much time and how much money have you spent with your family? You're a selfish git because you've spent no time with your family and no money with your family, so you're kidding yourself. So it's a real, good question to ask yourself. Where do I spend my time and where do I spend my money? Because that's where my heart is.
Yeah, we're talking about the daily routines. Obviously, we always talk about in 3 to 5 that the tyranny of the urgent will always sing and shout louder than the priority of the important. Is there some big rocks, we actually touched on this yesterday, that we can actually implement? You, John, you have said, I read a couple of hours a day for obviously getting that input. Is there a structure that we can look at, Chuck, as a...
Well, I think everybody's is different, but I think in principle, I think you nailed it right out of the gate. We need to work on ourselves before we work on our business. If you don't like what's in your business, look inside your head. because your business, my business, is just nothing less, nothing more than a reflection of what's inside my head. So I have to start with me. And I didn't do that for decades. The rugged individualist doesn't do that. You start outside, but I have to start inside. So in the last number of years, I changed my morning routine. I would get up and I would just kind of wander into the day, and usually the TV ended up on with the news, and you just sort of stumbled into the day, and you're grounding by just sort of stumbling in. And now I get out of bed very deliberately. I go to a window or outside if it's warm enough, and I do what's called a declaration of interdependence, where I have a few things I say every morning to myself and to the world around me to get me set. And then I do 8.5 minutes worth of breathing exercises that are neurologically proven. Basically, 5 minutes of this is as good or better than 20 minutes worth of meditation. Not saying either one's worse or better, but I love the breathing. And then I do 2 minutes.
Breathing is helpful.
Breathing is helpful, but it's the only system in our bodies that we can voluntarily control. And there's some incredible benefits neurologically that science has shown to actually do certain kinds of breathing. I do physiological sighs in the morning, which is a deep breath in as deep as you can and then slow out. And I do that a couple different ways for 8.5 minutes. And then there's square breathing. There's all kinds of things you can do. But when we control our breathing deliberately, that's just a great way to start the day. And the point of this is to get to be grounded in the day, to get to ground zero, to get the basic. What's the most rested, calm way that I could start a day? It's not by just sleeping. I get inside myself and I get this stuff figured out for myself. And then I spend 2 minutes and 10 seconds with my eyes closed and just do nothing. And I trace my body to keep my mind from wandering as much. But it's basically just to get to where I'm still and there's nothing going on inside or outside for just a couple of minutes. I have found that breaking the habit of getting involved in the world right away by getting on the news or looking at the computer or looking at email, staying with me for 10 minutes inside has been revolutionary for me in figuring out how to be better prepared to go out and walk around in the world every day. So to your point, you said the tyranny of the urgent. We talk about this all the time, that the urgent things are a tyrant. They come and find us. They jump at us, they run at us, they scream at us, they yell at us. And the important things, we have to go find them. We have to make them happen. And me walking into the day grounded and full of energy is something I have to make happen. I have to push the tyranny of the urgent aside. So that's how I start my day.
Yeah, because John, you and I have talked about this quite recently, is that what we intentionally focus on grows. And I think as Chuck's already said, that starting the day, setting the sail is a term that we've used over the years, setting the sail early doors to say, right, I'm going to get from the day, because the day will have its own challenges.
There's an expression that says, people will treat you in the manner in which you tend to allow them. Okay? That is no truer than I will treat myself in the manner in which I tend to allow me. I have to tell me to catch myself on. I mean, left to his own devices, I'm dangerous. So I have to be intentional. So what's the priorities? Well, your health. If your health isn't a priority, I mean, all the money and all the time are absolutely no use to you if you have no energy and health to enjoy it, or energy and health to use it to make a difference in the world about you. So you've got to look after yourself. They say on the plane when they're doing the emergency thing, put on your own oxygen mask first, because if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after anybody else. And we have this especially women, and I don't mean to be sexist here, but especially women, mothers, they sacrifice themselves for their kids. And eventually you can get to where you resent that. Okay? So very important to take care of yourself.
You use the word intentional, and I use that all the time. You get what you intend, not what you hope for. And another thing I do after I do these things to be intentional about my day is I record what my day is going to look like. So I review my lifetime goal and I say, how will I live that out today? Who will I meet? What meetings will I have? How can I live out my lifetime goal of living well by doing good? And that's the first thing I write down. The second thing I do is I work on being grateful. And I'll list a few things that I'm grateful about, but the interesting thing about this is that neurologists have shown that the way we become more grateful is not about listing things we're grateful for and being grateful for them. That actually does not make us more grateful. What makes us more grateful is remembering things that people have said about us that made them grateful and receiving that over and over again, and remembering how they were grateful for us. That, ironically, makes us more grateful than thinking about being grateful about other people. How have people been grateful about me? So that's another thing I do to start my day.
Yeah. Obviously, we've taken some time this week to come out to Malaga. And again, looking at, if we go back to the title of what are the processes that lead to success and what are the daily routines. Obviously, some of the guys have prioritized their internal ability to grow by setting the time, the investment, financially, relationally, emotionally, because not everybody gravitates to getting away in a week as much as it's in Spain, so lovely weather and all the rest of it. There is a process to what we've achieved this week, but there's also a process in where the guys have made provision. So how do you feel that can implement itself and roll itself out as we go back to the tyranny of the urgent, daily life, the daily grind, and all those things that we have to listen to on a daily and weekly basis?
One of the things you said, and I'm not sure if it's in the book or where it is, but where you do your strategic thinking and where you do your tactical thinking, always make them two different places. And that's what this is about. You know, this is a strategic week. It wasn't tactical. We weren't working on processes and how we make our businesses better from an internal point. This is strategic. It was looking at it from above and saying, okay, what I need to do, I've got to work on me, because as you said, what's going on in me is a reflection of what's going on. A lot of people think, you know, their businesses, you know, we blame our businesses on the chaos in our lives, and yet the truth is it's the chaos in my head is creating the chaos in my business. Yeah,
because we've actually touched on this a couple of times. I took a couple of guys that sometimes you have to fall in love, fall back in love. Apologies.
So sorry, what do we say about the 3 to 5 club? Okay, it's for business owners who want to make more money in less time, get off the treadmill, and get back to the passion that brought them into business in the first instance. Unfortunately, most business owners have fallen. The passion, they forgot what the passion. Why did
we start?
Or never really got to it.
Yeah,
hoped for it, but never really achieved it.
Yeah. So, with our sort of final thoughts for the guys, what would be the one or two big rocks? Obviously, we talked about the morning routine and how that's important to be at one with yourself. What would be a couple of things that the guys could take away and say, right, there's a big rock, I'm going to install this into the big glass bowl, John, you talked about yesterday?
Go and get yourself a piece of cardboard and stick pictures off it that represent the life and the business that you want in the future. And spend 2 or 3 minutes every morning just looking at it, and 2 or 3 minutes before you go to bed looking at it. Do that as a minimum. The rest of it will maybe start to follow.
Chuck?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Stephen Covey, start with the end in mind. Where are you headed? What do you want when you're done? What's it look like? What's your life look like when you're done? And then work backwards and say, well, if that's what I want 50 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, then what should I do today? And then measure it. That which is measured improves. So measure what you want to do. Have a routine for being healthy and the kind of things you want to do, and how many miles you want to ride your bike or gym you want to go to or whatever it is. And then the last thing I would do every day is figure out how will I stretch myself today? How will I be a little bit uncomfortable today? Because that's how we grow.
Yeah, mine basically is similar. Start with the end in mind, and the daily decisions and the daily choices that I make, are they taking me towards the end, or are they going to take me off? Which the tyranny of the urgent will always want to take you off. Yeah. Guys, if you're interested in becoming involved in a 3 to 5 club, please check out our website, www.3to5.com.
And come to Malaga the next time.
Yeah.
We're enjoying ourselves.
No, we're not going to Malaga next time. We're going somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to Portugal.
Come to wherever it is that's sunny.
Andy's in Portugal waiting on us. Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
That wraps up another episode of the Get Off Off the Treadmill podcast. If you found this podcast helpful, please subscribe and hit the like button to ensure you are receiving the latest tools you need to grow your business and to get off the treadmill. If you want more information on the 3 to 5 Club, the Crankset Group, or to book Chuck as a business advisor, speaker, or workshop leader, you can contact us at GROW at cranksetgroup.com. Until next time, have a great week.